Hey everybody, welcome to the Master Wing channel. Thank you for stopping by if this is your first time with us. We are jumping right into a game. It's a casual game, but we always like to keep it competitive online. We kept two birds in our starting hand. Just skipping forward a little bit, the red-breasted grosbeak is a little bit easier to play for a 3 food cost bird. And then we have the ring-billed gull, but as you can see, the tray is very interesting with a hummingbird, the eastern imperial eagle, and the barn swallow, and we are going second in this game. So we kept 3 food, obviously, but we are debating whether this hummingbird and barn swallow is going to be available because we're going to assume our opponent picks up the eagle. So here we go. I hope it's a good game. We have the Ethologist bonus card, so we're looking for some extra power colors. And my opponent takes the eagle and then the grebe pops up, which is also a decent bird. And as we pick up the barn swallow, the Chihuahuan raven takes its place. So we grab a bird that we think is going to be powerful, he grabs another one. And now I'm really debating between this hummingbird and grebe. As you can see, I go with the hummingbird. And as I select the hummingbird, Chiff Chaff pops up. The tray is just going wild right now. And my opponent does not pick up the Chiff Chaff. So we go ahead and snag that one because we know its potential. Its brown power can give you 5 points. And with that Chiff Chaff, I'd really like to grab the grebe as well. So we've done 3 straight turns of drawing cards. My opponent does pick up the grebe. So he's got the raven and the grebe and of course the eastern imperial eagle. We have the food for the Chiff Chaff, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. And you know what time it is. We are looking for a full tuck setup since that Chiff Chaff is a big power play. Eastern Imperial Eagle, from the get-go, 10 points, point boost. You can see I do something a little bit different here. The ruby-throated hummingbird is going in the grassland. A lot of times I put the hummingbird in the wetlands. So while you're drawing cards, you're gaining food. However, since I don't have a bird that lays eggs in the wetlands, like a mourning dove, a grackle, bush tit, blackbird, there's several of them that can do that. I like to put the hummingbird in the grassland and just try something a little different here, because assuming I'm going to build out this wetlands and have five birds in the wetlands, I'm going to need to lay eggs, at least 3 times for 6 eggs. And while I'm doing so, I might as well gain a food while doing it. So that's the thinking behind putting the hummingbird in the grassland, and we're going to see if it works out. If the grackle or a mourning dove shows up, then I'll probably regret having the hummingbird in the grassland. But right now, I already have 2 more tuck birds to complement that Chiff Chaff with barn swallow and the gull. So I'm thinking I'm gonna, lay eggs pretty minimally here, and we're not gonna worry so much about food. Our main point production for the foreseeable future is going to be tucks. Finally, the tray settled down. We have the horned lark, woodpecker, and a bald eagle. We are playing the house rules, of course, on the tournament Discord, so my opponent has to wait to play that Chihuahuan raven they picked up. They can play that in the second round. It looks like he'll probably ignore that forest for the remainder of the game, or she, and we're pretty much ignoring our forest as well. So we got 3 birds in round 1, and a little bit of a slow start just because we kept drawing cards, but I like our setup so far. And we get to go first, second round, and look at the tray again. Eleanor's falcon, northern mockingbird. I'm contemplating both of those. Falcon may be getting some eggs for me, and the mockingbird, of course, speaks for itself, can mock my other birds in the wetlands and score me more points. So I'm looking at And then we draw Wilson Snipe as well. And that's pretty much my next 3 plays. As soon as we draw this, Rule 16, if you don't know what Rule 16 is, when you pick up a bird from the tray, you just reveal a good or more powerful bird for your opponent. And so this game, it seems like we keep denying each other, and then another tuck bird comes up. So the Wingspan algorithm is busted on this game. Just continuing to show birds that we need. I'm thinking, since we didn't get that grebe, that we go with the barn swallow and the mockingbird, and then maybe the Wilson Snipe for the 5th bird. You don't have to have 5 birds for a full tuck scenario, but to maximize that chiff chaff, new players, you want to be at least grabbing 4 or 5 cards, to make use of that 5-point brown power that the chiff chaff has. Because if we max out as is, and we take a gull and a barn swallow and that mockingbird, we're still only drawing 3 more new cards. And so you're kind of leaving points on the board. And so we look out for cards like the, like that grebe, the ruddy duck, other birds that can draw 2 cards. And the Savi's Warbler would be another good one. And then that chiff chaff really does work throughout the game. So my opponent has enough food for the Raven. I assume that's their next play. And since that hummingbird is in the grassland and we need a couple more eggs, we're going to go ahead and try to get this mockingbird play down while there's a berry in the bird feeder. And it just so happens that the majority of my birds are ground nests, which helps me with the 3rd end of round. We ended up tying the 1st end of round goal with food cost of played birds. And then this 2nd end of round is cards in hand. So oftentimes when I'm doing a full tuck play, I have to try to qualify for the end of round goals. I'm not really concerned about winning them because that takes me off of my main point scoring strategy. And you have to almost ignore the end of round goals at times, even scoring 0 points, because you can't afford to waste turns not tucking and scoring the most amount of points, because this is all the points that we have. It's just this one singular habitat. And there's a worm in the tray, there's a berry in the tray. And it's looking like mockingbird play is next. Eleanor's falcon might have been my 5th bird in the wetlands. Maybe it snags me an egg once or twice. But I'm thinking overall Wilson Snipe might be better if we don't see anything in the coming turns. This is turning out to be a pretty interesting game. As you know, we play a lot of Wingspan. For every game you're seeing on this channel, I probably have 5 or 6 recorded that never make it, and then I play 5 or 6 games that I just don't record because we don't do this full time. So if you're one of those players that I played against and you're saying, I hope I made it to YouTube, it's very possible you could pop up on one of these videos. But there's also a very good chance that it's not going to make it, because if nothing unusual or noteworthy or spectacular happens in a game, win or lose, I'm not really going to post every single Wingspan game that I play. So since we don't see this setup often, I'm only looking at 4 or 5, 6 birds by the end of this game maybe. This one might make it to YouTube, so let me know what you think. I'm giving this commentary post-game just to see how it turns out. I know these lay egg actions are painful to see sometimes when they're only 2 points, but we're almost halfway through the game, and I'm thinking if I can get that Wilson snipe down, I should be in pretty good shape for the remainder of the game. And this particular turn, we are doing some more cycling, some more tucking. We pick up Common Raven, which doesn't really do much good to me in this scenario. At times we have pivoted to a Raven game, but right here you can see we're pretty focused on this full tuck. And it looks like because the end of round goal is cards in hand, we are not going to maximize the Chiff Chaff just yet. So those cards are just going to sit there in hopes we can win or tie the end of round goal. The American Bittern is also obviously sitting in the tray. Oh, my opponent plays Bush Tit, that's right. So that's kind of a scary setup with Bush Tit and Common Raven. The Bush Tit would have been nice for us to have. But with that Bittern, it being 7 points, and a Raven, you can play just about anything. I'm thinking about denying that here just because he may use it for card draw. We get a Toei, which doesn't mean much to us, and a Titmouse. And if I end up playing this Wilson Snipe, that's also going to be kind of bad for me because those tucks are going to turn into points. I mean, those extra cards are going to turn into points for my opponent with that Bush Tit. So we are not in a runaway game here. I think it's neck and neck, but the way they are activating eggs, they've got the eagles, they've got a tuck bird, and we keep tying these end around goals. This is neck and neck. Look at the tray. This tray has been, what's the word? Unusual, maybe? I don't know. The birds that we want to see just keep popping up. Mute Swan, Common Grackle. I really wanted the Common Grackle, and my opponent, denies it. And that was a good play by them. And I'm a little surprised they left the Mute Swan. And then we have a Bell's Vireo pop up in the tray. I'm not 100% on the Mute Swan, but the Bell's Vireo is easy to play for the Raven as well. And we're going to prolong that decision for my 5th bird in the wetlands and at least pick it up. Eurasian Collared Dove isn't bad if I had a Raven. And we're scoring 3 points, and we can finally utilize the Chiff Chaff because the end of round goal is not cards in hand. So we're scoring 7 points in this activation, which isn't bad. We're hoping it pays off. And finally the tray settles down. Nothing powerful, at least. They could pick up the Junko maybe. But if you look at the opportunity cost of laying eggs, 3 times to get food for the Mute Swan, and then playing the bird, playing the Mute Swan, that's 4 turns that I'm not tucking and scoring those 7 or 8 points. So my thinking at this point, even though it would be cool to have Mute Swan and Chiff Chaff, I think the Wilson Snipe is the better play. We weren't able to pick up a Grebe or something that draws 2 cards, a Savi's Warbler. The good thing about the Snipe is that it'll give me an extra card, and it also qualifies me for 2nd place for the 4th end of round goal. So it's not a complete waste, and I think that'll help me maximize the Chiff Chaff more so. And we're probably done utilizing the Hummingbird and the Grassland for the remainder of the game. Like I said, we have eggs on ground nest birds, so that was nice that we're able to participate in the 3rd end of round goal. And it really just depends on what other complementary birds Keith Strelly is going to put next to that Bush Tit and Raven. All right, so here we go. We have another ground nest bird, but if we can, let's see, draw 4 more cards, probably discarding an egg at some point. But if we draw 4 more cards, we tuck 3 under the barn swallow and the ring-billed gull and my mockingbird, and then 5 tucks with the chiff-chaff. We have an 8-point engine. This is an engine building game, and we're still in round 3. So if you're scoring 8 points in round 3 consistently, that's a pretty good engine you got going. My opponent plays the Hermit Thrush for 7 points and then Godwit back to back. Those points, I'm a little concerned at this point, just because our 8 points haven't really started rolling yet, and I'm not 100% sure if we are going to win this game. But regardless, I think there's only one bird that we're really looking for the remainder of the game, and that is Benelli's Eagle. I could play the Benelli's Eagle for free in the forest without having to worry about egg cost for 11 points. Obviously, my opponent has Imperial Eagle and the Northern Goshawk, which is easy to play as well in a full tuck scenario. That doesn't beat my current tucking engine. So Benelli's is really the only thing we're looking for. We don't have any other food. Sometimes in a full tuck you'll get some help from your opponent. Maybe they have a hummingbird or an Eastern Phoebe or a Baltimore Oriole, just giving you a couple food here and there, and sometimes you can play those pab birds, play another bird. The downy woodpecker or something like that, where you can unload some of those extra cards. But here we are, we're satisfied with what we have. The tray just kept on populating decent birds for us to utilize. And I was really fortunate that my opponent did not deny that chiff-chaff early on. So this is really just the fun part. If you've never tried a full tuck, I don't know what it is about doing so. Maybe it's just the app. I know in the physical version, when you're tucking a card, sometimes it's a little awkward to grab all your eggs in your card and try to slip it under the other card, and it's a little slow. It is still fun when you see this big stack of points that you've accumulated, but something about doing a full tuck on this Monster Couch app, just clicking through, cycling through the deck, knowing you're scoring points. This is one of the most fun games to play, in my opinion. My opponent plays the common grackle, so they've got grackle and bush tit, and of course my Wilson snipe is helping me maximize the chiff-chaff, but we've given him a ton of cards as well, or her, whoever my opponent Keystrelli is, and they've got a decent looking grassland going. But our turns, 5-6 turns left in the game, it's pretty straightforward here. We are leaving the eggs on the ground nest at this point. And I'm really liking that the mockingbird can repeat. And eventually, it looks like we're going to have enough cards to repeat the chiff-chaff once or twice, which is also pretty nice. All right, so we've tied the first 3 end of round goals, and it looks like my opponent will pretty much dominate the 4th end of round goal. 5 turns left, and we are going to start running this 7-8 point engine. We do get to go first, and I am going to go ahead and discard eggs, just because I know that these extra cards that I'm drawing will eventually be tucked, whether it's the barn swallow, the gull, or the chiff-chaff. Those eggs that are subtracting from our score, they're going to be added back to the score. It's kind of a neutral play, but every card extra that I draw is another chance to reveal Benelli's Eagle, and so we go ahead and unload all the eggs that we have. I think we only had 3 anyway. So that's the thinking behind these last 4 turns. Our bonus card at the beginning of the game was Viticulturist. So the Mockingbird and the Chiffchaff, which we didn't know we were going to grab, that would have given us one more point instead of this Ethologist that we're running. And, bonus card points with only 6 birds on the board. That wasn't our main focus here, but we were able to compete with those end of round goals, and this is, again, just the fun part, just clicking through the deck and scoring points. To be able to score 5 points on 1 brown power is really nice. And another thing, if you're running the Chiffchaff, which is probably obvious to more veteran players, but in my opinion, in an ideal scenario, it's nice to have the Chiffchaff. Can't even talk. It's nice to have the Chiffchaff at the beginning of your wetlands instead of the end or the middle, because now that the Chiffchaff is at the beginning of the engine, it's our last activation and we can get rid of all of our extra cards. If the Gull came first or the Swallow came first, we would have to probably save a card to make sure we get a point under the Gull. And it is a little awkward having to tuck 4 cards and leave a 5th card for the Gull or the Barn Swallow. So if you are running Chiffchaff, in my opinion, it's nice to have it at the beginning of your engine so you can get rid of all your extra cards. And we're still not seeing anything we like. If we had that Hummingbird or another food producer, we'd probably be keeping a lot of these birds to unload on some bonus points or some high point birds. But here it is, just pretty straightforward. The decisions are really tuck your cards or keep Benelli's Eagle. That's about it. And my opponent continues to drop bombs on their side. Great Blue Heron with the Wood Stork. It's looking like triple-digit scores for both of us. We were happy for the Chiffchaff, but we revealed a Raven at some point in the game, and then all of a sudden it's been neck and neck. And this is our last turn to try to reveal a Benelli's Eagle, and we do not see it. So it looks like we'll go ahead with our 7-8 points here. And our last turn, we're going to repeat the Chiffchaff instead of the Barn Swallow, which is going to be nice. And in a full tuck scenario, you don't really want to have any extra cards left over because those are just points left on the table. So here's 3, 4. I'm just going to count my points here as it goes on. So there's 5. And then 6 with the Barn Swallow, 7 with the Gull, and then 8, 9 with the OG Chiffchaff. And that is a wrap, people. 6 birds. We didn't have the Gull, the Raven, we didn't have either Eagle, and we didn't have any pink powers. Sometimes you want to have a pink power with a full tuck to complement it. So we'll see how we do. And it's always scary when your opponent is going up the scoreboard and you're still left down here waiting for your tucks to kick in. 25 eggs, that's not good. Will we have enough tucks? 106, very strong score. Wow. Goodness, that was closer than I thought. 113, 79 tucks. That was a fun way to play. I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's check out my opponent's bonus cards, Ecologist, Prairie Manager, and Platform Builder, which was great. So, crazy game. That tray just kept on providing. Thank you for watching, Master Wayne. See you next time. Peace.